a Wonder Woman. So maybe we'll see that come into fruition. Anyways, the matchup for game number 3, or rather the third placement match, game number 1, is going to be Alliance with offlaner All Might, Mage with Zero, Marks as Marksman played by Fayez, a jungler will be Obex, and Observer shall be Bedman.
Yes, and for Unity side, we've got Blaze as their offlaner, Sopranophobia as their mage, Old Excalibur as their marksman, Chai2 as their jungler, and Zed as their observer.
Yeah, we're just waiting for our first game to start off, but today has been I would say a lightning fast best of. We have seen XD Gaming versus Alliance here go 3-0, but Alliance did have some, I would say, really good matches that it could have actually been them getting that W, but I think XD Gaming was just that too strong. They had more understanding of how to play the game, but still Alliance did a pretty dang good job on the second semifinals match that we had. It's also a 3-0, where Unity kind of started pretty good. Second game was all right, and then third game is where they kind of faltered the most. But still, we are yet to see them. If they kind of mix up, going away from that Kilgroth, definitely looking forward to what they can, kind of bring to this table.
Yeah, I felt like Unity already made the necessary adjustments as they did so well at game number 3. I mean, after locking in that L'Oreal together with that Kilgroth, it just means there's a secondary threat already. But you know what? Let's head on over to the draft, as I feel like we're going to be seeing another Kilgroth and maybe a Preda on Alliance side, hopefully, because they've been locking in Natalia Diao-Chan all throughout this tournament. Diao-Chan all throughout, Natalia once up against XD Gaming earlier. So Murad out of the field, which would mean Alliance, Preda first pick. I feel like interesting. Yeah. This is a different mid lane which they have secured. So L'Oreal for their first pick. I mean, I believe they did use this. I'm double checking. Not really. Actually, yes, they did not use this. All Diao-Chan and Natalia. So this is a different dynamic now. We'll have to see whether this L'Oreal's gonna work, because it seemed to me maybe they're not comfy with other picks aside from Diao-Chan and Natalia. But looking at that Senial, again, one of the things that comes into mind for me when you lock in that Senial and you respond with a max, which is totally normal, but I would want to put it later into the drafting and secure my most important ones, like an Alice. I would get Kirkneck Alice, and because you already have your Senial, I would. Oh, interesting. So they decided to go for the Maganga. So this worked. This composition worked wonders for, I believe, Serenity on the Joker and the Maganga pick.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of poke damage as well as sustained damage output. And this is just, the Clown Conundrum. Definitely something that has been used before, like you said, and has good chunks of damage. It's very, how do I say this, stable scaling. You don't actually see them kind of faltering in any parts of the game. It's very smooth from here, and that's where Alliance has to kind of use this Cricknack, which is to kind of, deter this, I would say, scale into the fray once again, which is the Thresh. Definitely love that Metamorphosis. You get yourself some stun, you get yourself that extra tanking, and even, huge body to kind of body block the skill shots here as well, just kind of push out people with your crowd control.
Yeah, and normally Crash users would, if you lock in the Crash, then it's totally going to be a full, well, not full dive, but it's one of the options that you could do to overwhelm your enemy. There are different options, like, for example, okay, we're going to get the objective, we're going to hog the objective, we're going to hog your jungle, but there's also the option of pushing your lead by doing tower dives and doing sieging. And with the zoning that you could do and the sustain and the burst damage coming from that Joker, I feel like if they get that 2 to 3 skirmishes being won, then they could try to keep on with that lead and with that aggression.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how they kind of set up the lanes here. But I'm thinking it's going to be Zenial versus Max, pretty standard. And in the bottom side, it should be a possibly a Joker versus Violet, yeah. And then Kriknak, of course, plus the Ryoma for the jungle. So again, I think like level 1 team fight, it should actually just go either side because it kind of seems a bit more on the standard here, or on the same pathing. What do you think? Or rather, same damage output. So they kind of would have stable 1v1.
Interesting. We'll just have to see if that's what they're going to be aiming for.
All right, so we'll give it on to I Request a Duel and Lex take on the third placement match. Guys, take it away.
Yes, take it on and take it away we shall. But right as we get into this third place, we see the side of Alliance being very, I was going to say aggressive, but actually just responding to that aggression coming up from Unity, who tried to invade the jungle there. You can see Obex all on his lonesome trying to go for the Might Golem steal, but this is obviously very predictable, could get punished for, but Zed just going to walk on right past him and he's going to get out there. But yeah, once again, joining me is Luxuria. How are you doing, and what do you think of this third place matchup?
Well, for me personally, I'm really liking the comp coming out from Unity. I hesitated for a bit, simply because of we saw this comp before. We saw this comp earlier on, and that comp was brought up by. Let me just quickly go through the notes thing.
I think
Serenity. Yeah, there you go.
She brought that fact up about the Maganga and Joker pick, and that's something they seem to have learned from Serenity because it works so well against them.
Yeah, so Serenity actually brought that out, and the only reason I'm really liking it is because of the vast amount of healing that you actually get. So a ton of sustain from the Maganga, from the Zenio when you come in with your ultimate, and on top of that you have Crash to frontline almost everything. However, in this time we do not see Crash with Disrupt. Instead, we are seeing a Crash with a heal. So that is the different thing that we will be seeing right here. However, you know, I'm still confident because Unity probably learned from their lesson, learned from the match beforehand, and they kind of would know how to pull this comp off. Abyssal Dragon is now up, and they are basically posturing themselves around this main objective that would probably set the pace of the game.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there about the Unity team comp. I'm really liking what they're bringing to the table as a whole. And then you look over at Alliance, neither team really drafted bad, to be honest. Alliance, though, kind of picking pieces from the meta. You have the Max that we see so often, Violet Lumber, L'Oreal for the mid, and that Kriknak who's just able to burst people down as well as kind of jump into the front line alongside the Lumber, which I think is really nice. And a bit of a change up here that was also mentioned during the draft is the fact that Zero now on this L'Oreal instead of these more, I guess, stationary mages such as the Diao-chan and the Natalia. So that's interesting to see how that will play into their team fights and their positioning. But right now, both teams being fairly passive in a sense. I'd say Unity are the ones with a bit more control right now. It's only a very slight gold lead, but more the way they've been moving around the map. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're the ones to try and attempt to take the Abyssal Dragon. But either team probably looking for that first blood as a bit of a safeguard to that.
Yep, very good poke coming out from the side of Unity, and with that poke immediately transiting into that of Abyssal Dragon. But of course, Alliance may have got something to say with Crash using that metamorphosis.
Crash going in for the engage for retaliation coming out from Bedman on that Lumber, though, gets the knock up and helps All Might pick up that kill as he joins in on the fight. It's going to be a double kill, actually 2 kills over to the side. 3 make that for Alliance, and they do take down the Crash alongside, I believe, Ryoma, who is up in the front lines, but there's going to be the trade out kill. However, this does open up the Abyssal Dragon now for the side of Alliance to finish off. So overall, Alliance winning out there in terms of kills and objectives.
Yep, and the real issue with Unity actually adopting into this team comp, if you were to ask me, I personally just think that it's not quite working out for them because, you know, when Serenity brought this team comp out, they probably have trained with it. And maybe Unity have, I'm not sure, but I mean, just looking at what happened then, it is just that the Max was just bringing so much CC down. Metamorphosis was used quite haphazardly, if you're going to ask me, and just used to basically shoo Lumber away. But I personally think that is a waste of such a big ultimate like that of Metamorphosis. Could have been used much better, obviously, with the Abyssal Dragon take. Not much of goal difference just yet. In fact, Unity is still leading by a couple of hundreds.
Yeah, and that's true there, what you brought up about the ultimate usage, where you see the Crash with the initial engage, but then it came up to Bedman on that Lumber, who actually had a much better knock-up, and is with the timing of Max arriving with his own ultimate to outbalance that fight, to turn it around for the side of Alliance and kind of get that, I guess, comeback kill in a sense, a bit of a bait-in almost, but it's more just making use of the situation where the side of Unity really didn't follow up on the Crash ult compared to Alliance's engage.
Yep, and on top of that as well, the only reason Serenity can actually pull that off is simply because Unity's team comp, if you actually look at the previous match, what they actually pulled out very, very high DPS heroes, not high burst heroes. However, the side of Alliance, they have the likes of Crickneck and Violet. Both of these, they do not want to go in for the DPS. What they really want to go in for is basically the high burst, right? The one-time boom and then shut you down kind of thing. Whereas Unity, with this particular team comp, they are banking their buck on the fact that you are going to be in a team fight for a pretty long while for Maganga to actually stack up those poison stacks, and on top of that, the consistent healing, and also for long enough just so Zeno can actually come down in time to heal everyone up.
Mm-hmm. And although you did bring this up before, although we do see Zed going in, needs to be careful, but ultimate is up and will be used this time. Badman not even hitting a single member with that knock-up on the Lumber, and will get punished for it, caught out alone. So I think these two heroes, the Crash and the Lumber, are very similar in that sense, especially the role they play for their team and the engagement factor there with their ultimates. And now we see a bit of a different situation. It's a bit of a turnaround, really, to what happened just before. This time, it was actually the Lumber who failed with the engage on the ult, and it was Unity to pick up the Abyssal Dragon. But something I was about to touch on right before that fight happened was the fact that you said Unity is still ahead in the gold lead. Prior to that, prior to the fact that Alliance already got the first Abyssal Dragon for themselves, and that just goes to show that that Unity is doing a good job with their rotations, and it's something we seem to point out before, that they have really good macro control over the map. So I think that that's something Unity has advantage of Alliance at the moment, and why they're being able to keep a gold lead, keep the pressure up in the enemy jungle, and even why they've just taken the mid tower down from Alliances. That step ahead of them right now. But we'll see when it comes to the team fight phase if Alliance can turn that around. As there's going to be the engagement, retaliation by Zed with the Metamorphosis. They're going in a lot of damage onto Fires, but really the target they're going to be Bedman, taking him out in the front line. Zero also going low, and Kresh has to keep the rest of his team safe on this backline until Roma can jump back in, but it doesn't matter. They're going to be able to pick up the kills one by one, and Zero, you do not want to stick around there, dodges out the Maganga damage, but won't be able to escape. But Roma does dive in for that kill. Maybe not the best decision, but still Unity, I would say, coming out on top for the most part there. You've also allowed that Daniel to just freely split push the top lane.
Yep, and that's the issue, right? So with the comp coming out from the side of Unity, they really want to go in for those team fights because they know they can. And what Alliance can really do is just create space. You've got the Lumber. But what really happening right now is that Crickneck, although high burst, but it's just lacking in all kinds of farm. I mean, sitting at level 10, Obex, you're not in the best position, especially when Crickneck, when you have such high burst, you can basically just go in for a 1v1 up against, say, Joker or even Maganga, try to eliminate those heroes first. But then, judging from the team fights, Crickneck just went in and just tanked, took a whole lot of damage, but not do anything else. And also, one more thing that I really want to quickly touch on It's just Zero's mate's choices here. At this point in time, in the Butler team fight, how good would it have been if that was a Daoshan, right? Where you can just go in with the freeze, with the root, and have your team clean up. However, he just doesn't seem all that comfortable on this L'Oreal pickup for himself.
Well, now that's the thing. It's interesting that they actually first picked for L'Oreal. And so, in a sense, you could say, well, Unity kind of played around that. But I was actually thinking it might work out well with the mobility alongside that of a Crick Knack, and they're able to jump around the back. Meanwhile, All Might getting taken down, I think, is a 2v1 situation up there between Zenio and Ryoma. But I thought it actually worked well with the team comp they have. But I think that there isn't enough front line, just leaving it all up onto the Lumber, as we see that Unity going to be able to take the Darkslayer for themselves. So already 2 Abyssal Dragons, a Darkslayer in their pocket, all of a sudden really making use of this God Lead. And Mrs. was talking about that macro play before. It's more of a decision making, I think, is quite good on the side of Unity, and team fights is maybe where they need to just step it up a bit. But they've got here to the third place match. They're looking to prove something against the Alliance, and we'll see what they're able to do with this Darkslayer buff if they can continue to make use of these objectives.
Yeah, I mean, just they are putting down a lot of damage already, even before, the actual team fight start. I mean, Zero is at 3/4 health, and there you go.
Well, there's going to be Bedman with the initial knock-up onto most of Unity's team, but look at that, caught out on the backline. They're going to catch out that Cricknack you mentioned. Obex just destroyed in an instant, and soon will be the base to follow as we're going on to that mid-high ground tower, taking it down with ease. And the damage they're dishing out to All Might and Zero is too much to take. Bedman going to fall to it, and it looks like Fayaz caught in the crossfire, and it's going to be game number 1 of this third place match, going over to Unity 10-5 at 11 minutes 50 in. So a pretty clean game for the most part. I mean, Unity did not lose a single objective after that initial Abyssal Dragon.
Yep, I mean, that was a really, really clean game. I mean, just take a look at this. It was just down to rotation for the most part. And then, of course, very, very well-placed Metamorphosis coming out from Zed on that crash. Take a look at this replay really quickly. So they are priming up for this particular tower. Some poke came out from Fires, from that of Violet. But here you see just one poke from Excalibur on that Ryoma. Violet goes so low, and this gives the side of Unity just clear advantage in terms of numbers, and Obex goes in, not quite deleting anyone, and the heal comes through from Zanio just for the show off, I believe. And here you go. It is pretty much clean up at this point in time when they clean up the high ground tower as well as the backlines. Max tried to do something, but nothing can really be done at this point in time. I mean, these Unity, they are just looking so very strong, so very convincing, and Violet goes down before the corner.
Yeah, well, with that, we will hand it back over to Asarai and Riku. Let us know what you thought about that first place match, and, maybe what Alliance could do differently going into game number 2.
Thank you so much for that one. I request a duel and Elyria. I mean, that was just interesting. I mean, yeah, they did say that after, Alliance lost that first Abyssal Dragon, they never let up any other objectives. Another thing that I kind of noticed here was that Unity kind of approached the fights a bit too linear, wherein they forced in I think it was Alliance, who forced that fight with the Cricknack, and then they lost. Unity was the one who won, actually, so that was my bad. But yeah, they forced too much immediately with the Cricknack and everything. They blow all of their important damage skills in one go, and if Unity can survive that, they're basically out of steam already, and Unity just felt like a team that can outlast that kind of initiation for Alliance, albeit that they had to kind of again use their skills much more intricately.
Yeah, in comparison to the other games, actually during the early phases, they weren't very aggressive. Everybody was just trying to scout each other out. And I think the reason why Unity won as well is because they did the better job in farming, in terms of securing that Abyssal Dragon, and just keeping up with the lead, and not giving away kills and things like that. And obviously it's very the number one sign of is that a lot of members from Alliance's side were quite low leveled in comparison to Unity. And after that, once you know that you've already hit your power spikes, L'Oreal didn't come online. Violet never really reached her spikes as well. And it became a classic Crush game, whereas they could just completely continue on with their push. Crush will dive in. Even though he didn't have Disrupt, it's still a good utility skill. And they didn't. I don't think a Dark Slayer was acquired, right? I think they just kept on with the sieging. It was just rinse and repeat sort of thing. And there was even a fight at mid where it was a 4v5, and they still won that because they got their objectives already, even though they're quite low. But it just says a lot that the damage is enough, even though they're just 4 people. What more if Joker was involved?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I keep tending to forget this, but Maganga, aside from being a sustained, mage here that does, again, sustained damage, he is also a sustained mage. He can actually heal up his team with that, I believe, that wave of his. So as long as, the Crush actually stays in the middle of that fight, even though he takes a substantial amount of damage, if the Maganga go in his rotation and hit that Crush, and as well as his, the other teams who actually, his teammates who actually go in front of him, he gets that heal. And there was actually a good point as well for game number 1, wherein they were talking about how this L'Oreal, or rather this mage from Alliance doesn't look comfortable using the L'Oreal.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling it's more of a takeaway pick. Just because we only have one ban, might as well use our pick to take something out of Unity, anyways. Because I feel like in the hands of Unity, it's just gonna be a monster. But let's take a look at the MVP of the match. Look at that, sexy Sentinel. There you go. That's gonna be Blaze. Congratulations for being MVP of game number 1 of our 3rd place match series. But yes, Sentinel did awesomely as well. Yes, you. No deaths whatsoever, and level 14 almost at max, I suppose.
Yeah.
But Unity, Alliance, they have a lot to work with, especially their early game. I feel like if they fix their early game, they could fight at par with Unity. But it might be a difficult time if they sorta not I want to see an Alice pick on their side. I want to see. Maybe it's okay for a Natalia pick as long as you're comfy with it, but at the same time, so many hero combinations.
I know. I totally agree with you on all of those. Another kind of addition here that I felt like was missing for Alliance was that, they got the first Abyssal Dragon there, but I felt like they never truly contested Unity. Once Unity got that ultimate already for the Crush, you already said it a while ago, wherein they would just go and force team fights. And the Crush always used his ultimate, wherein I think it was always in the jungle, which it kind of bypassed, or it kind of pushed away everyone else kind of from Alliance's side to respond to their teammates. I think there was a fight in bottom lane on that first game, wherein the Crush for Alliance, I believe that, I think that was... but this is the Crush. Yeah, the Crush.
Okay.
And then the Vial was pushed out, and they were able to kind of, how to say this? They were able to isolate certain targets, and then they kept replicating that. And because of that displacement tool, it just allows them to kind of force these quick picks, and then kind of snowball from that one. Comparing that to the Lumbar, who can actually just knock people up rather than push them back. In terms of like trying to get these certain pickoffs, it kind of works much better for Unity than it does to Alliance.
Yes, exactly. And I guess what they could do is maybe if they want that takeaway game thing, maybe they could try out the Crush for themselves as well. Maybe it's because Crush fits in a lot of compositions, and it might suit Alliance with a more aggressive stance and just try to catch Unity off guard, because I feel like if you give Unity that space, then it's going to be a problem.
All right, problem indeed. Let's go into our second game draft and see if Unity can or if Unity will kind of, keep this ball rolling, or will Alliance try to go for that steal and make their own pass at that goal?
Well, normally second rotation, if they see a Sentinel, they go for Max, but I want to secure my top picks first. I want to see Max later on. I think one of the tactics that you could do is not to reveal too much, and that's the reason why early on. But Jinna is a very decent mage. It was popular when L'Oreal wasn't still in the meta in the game and stuff like that. This was the go-to mage at this point. But I'm seeing a lot of weird here. It's been a while since I've seen Fennec in the no, I remember back in the meta when Fennec was in the jungle, so maybe if I don't see a jungle being locked in, then maybe it's gonna be a classic Fennec jungle, or it could be a side lane. Ormar though, Scud, Ormar, they're choosing between the two. Maybe they just want to have some fun, but a Scud and a Crash though. Quite an aggressive lineup. It's all pretty much in your face with one range damage dealer, which is the Lindis. So if they're gonna lock in that Wonder Woman, and yes, it is a Fennec jungle.
Fennec jungle, like you said, not something that you see too much every day. So just a quick overview here for Unity. Jinnar is a mage that has an ultimate that allows him to stay in the fight longer, like a ball of fire, I think, is the best way to describe it. So, again, like Riku said, it's going to be all up in your face. And then for Alliance, I'm not really sure. I haven't really seen Fennec in a long time, but what are, his strengths, or what you're supposed to look out when you go up against a Fennec?
Fennec, definitely in terms of his stats, it hurts a lot, as well as taking down objectives, towers. I remember you can... a pro player told me you can solo Dark Slayer using the Fennec, and that's how strong he is during the early phases of the game, but not during the early phases of the game. I meant in the later phases of the game. So I'm kind of curious how they're going to be making this work. I believe Fennec is pretty good in terms of control and has a lot of mobility offered. I guess not as bursty because you have to land in all of your stacks first in comparison to Joker, where you can just one-hit combo anyways. Skill combo anyways in comparison to auto-attackers, auto-attack marksmen. So I guess I'm really interested for what Alliance has to offer, because I see a Scud on the other side, so Unity is definitely all going to be in your face, which would mean L'Oreal and Fennec would have a time, probably not have that space. They'll probably try to gain some distance a little bit before anything else happens. Yeah. But again, it's all about execution, and Jinnar, I'm so excited for this mid lane.
Yeah, they also, Alliance actually also implemented the last pick Wonder Woman. They were thinking if it's Malik or Wonder Woman, but I think as a team player, a Wonder Woman just gives you so much more utility. I do believe you some defense when she uses her ultimate from if you're like behind her, I believe.
Yes, so
yeah, exactly, shielded. So that's gonna at least help out the L'Oreal as well as Fennec here to kind of last longer in the fights. Anyways, for game number 2, it's going to be casted by Luxuria as well as I Request a Duel. So guys, you know what to do.
Thank you for that one, Sarai and Riku. And we're right into the action, a very aggressive start from Alliance. A bit similar to what we saw in game number 1, but they managed to back off here. Actually, the side of Unity going fairly low and being forced back in that sense. But Luxuria, what is going on? Where did the Jinan come from? Where did the Scud come from? And where did the Fennec come from? It seems like Alliance saw what Unity were doing with their draft, and they're like, okay, let's at least pick something out of the deepest pockets of our bags here with the Fennec.
Well, okay, before I actually break down what happened really in draft, I think the saying still stands true, right? No one remembers the 4th place. So both of these teams, they are trying their hardest to go and fight at least to get that 3rd place. And Fennec, okay, for Scud, okay, let's take a look at Scud. Scud's ability is basically high displacement, very, very good sustain in that lane with his A ability. I hope I actually remember correctly. It's been a while since I actually touched Scud. So Oh, sorry, that is the passive anabolic rage. So there you go. So very good sustain for Scott and very great displacement.
But not good enough in a 1v3 situation early game. I mean, you gotta give it to him as a 1v3. I wouldn't expect many people to live from that. But look at this, All Might catching out Excalibur. So all across the map, Alliance actually picking up kills, but meanwhile Unity picking up themselves a Abyssal Dragon, the first one of the game there, and now going to be clashing in with Bedman and Fayaz. Fayaz once again picking up that Alice pick, and we'll have to see how that goes for them in game number 2, as we saw this previously, but wasn't... I would, if I had to be honest, I think that it was a part of the comp that was also going alongside with the Diao-chan pick, and it wasn't really working out. We see Fennec game caught up in some action right there, getting taken down. But going back to that draft, you were talking about Scud. I think Scud is the least of my worries in this. I'm just more wondering about how Jinan and Fennec sit in the current meta.
Okay, for Scott, it's just high displacement. As for Jinar, okay, Jinar is a hero that is he's a mage, right? Really high damage over time mage. However, you need to be in really close proximity to actually dish out any form of damage, right? You do not quite have the long range like that of Praetor or even Delshan or even that of just throw me another name, Maganga. There you go. Right? You do not have that range like those heroes. So Gina, I mean, just look at the team comp itself. They are working very, very close range. They have Lindis far, can attack from afar, but they have the Ryoma, they have the Crash, they have the Scud that can be very good front lines and deal.
Oh my, getting caught out alone. So this is another thing that Unity, although after giving up the first 2 bloods that swung back, now got themselves in a 3-2 situation, could even change that up more. Hairs, they're going to take down Obex. There's going to be the Scud picking up a kill for himself, and there's Metamorphosis used as they engage underneath the tower to try pick up more. Zero going very low Blaze, I think picking up another one for himself. Double kill for Roma, actually. So with that, and the double kill for Blaze on that Scud, and another Abyssal Dragon for themselves, although All Might is over the walls looking for a possible steal. They're going to send Blaze and Excalibur out there on the hunt to pick them up, and this is Unity's strength. They rarely came back because they organized themselves, whereas it looks like for the side of Alliance, they're playing on the back foot to reactions of what Unity's throwing at them.
Yep, and so we saw from that, from the replay, really quick replay, what Scud can actually offer to the team. So Scud is actually very important, especially if you're picking up Gina, where you can just toss someone into Gina's ultimate, or if not, then toss someone into the Metamorphosis of Crash. So that is an important role that Scud will be playing. As for Fennec, well, let's just take a look at Fennec. Where is he? Let me just figure it out. There you go, in that top lane. So Fennec's kit, it's all about the damage over time as well. Okay, he's got a slightly longer range compared to all the other marksmen, and he's great at taking objectives. That being said, he's not the greatest in team fights. He takes too long to scale up in team fights, and basically he's just not good. So what the line's gonna try to do with their team comp is they're gonna try to split push, right? Work with a 4v5. So they have Zero on the L'Oreal, Alice, All Might on that Wonder Woman, and then you have the Zenil, and then you have Fennec just split pushing somewhere else. But guess what? There's another hero that split pushes well as well, and that is Lupu, who can actually contribute more into a team fight, which they haven't picked up as well. But Batman may get picked up.
Yeah, Batman getting caught out, taken down. There's going to be Bex taken out within a second, and All Might left in a 1v3 situation up here, looking dangerous. And I rarely start to see, as you explained to myself and the viewers, of how that Jinan pick really is going to work well in this comp. And I believe Riku in the draft talked about it just being a really up-in-your-face kind of comp, and we see that so far. 11-2, they haven't really given any breathing space to Bad Alliance, and they're not going to give any more as they go for the Darkslayer. So this is a take I really like from Unity that they like to do fairly often, and it just goes to show why I always compliment them on their macro play, on their rotations, and that quick decision making.
Yep, and one more thing as well. Obex may get caught out here, but they just really want to go for that Sage buff that they didn't quite secure. But anyways, one more thing for Gina is that his ultimate, right? The main damage source. Obviously, we're not gonna forget about the Sutra of Pain, where she just shoots like multiple balls out. But yeah, so his ultimate has a really, really low cooldown, and it does a ton of damage over time, right? It's not a bursty mage, but for all of this fight, you realize, you know, you have one main one that will be in front, and that would be Zed. And with Zed being in front, using Metamorphosis, bam, health barrier, and then Gina is basically free to do damage, and you see her start going in.
Yeah, there's going to be Metamorphosis. Doesn't really like, but All Might almost getting caught out there. Obex, once again, you said he can't stay in these team fights long enough to stack up and is just going to be taken down as soon as he's caught out in most situations. And we see a bunch of unity actually within the base on the side of Alliance, but they're going to take down that bottom high ground tower and push on through. It's a 4v2 situation. Make that 4v1, 4v none. There's going to be that ace and possibly, probably, likely the game. Unity taking that 16-2, 18 minutes in and showing us why they went with that team comp.
8 minutes in, not 18.
Did I say 18? My bad.
There you go. 8 minutes in, really short game. We are seeing the MVP here would be Chaitu on that Lindis. And that was just an amazing team fight. I mean, amazing close, right? 8 minutes in, and it's all just down to how well the team comp basically is so coherent with each other. Not coherent, but then what is that? What is that word? You know, so well gelled. Gel? Yeah.
Everything
together.
mixes together nicely, fits
There
where
you
it's meant to be, and that's what you see here with their engagement. They did they lose? I don't think they lost a single member when going into that base in the final engagement, but we'll see here.
Yep, so we do see Metamorphosis. You have that, not Metamorphosis, but rather you have Crash just standing in the front line, and then Ryoma as well, just putting in so much damage. You will see Fennec come in soon, right? So All Might is here to join in the fight. Fennec is from the backlines trying to take someone down, but will be taken down first by that Lindis, and all 5 members still standing. Blaze get the double, and this is pretty much the game.
Yep, and that will be game number 2. So back to the analyst desk where we have Asarai and Riku waiting.
Possibly the fastest game of this tournament, especially for our coverage. Anyways, my name is Asarai. Here with me now is, and game number 2 is at a close. That was just pure domination nation for Unity.
I have no words because you said it yourself. It could be the fastest game we have under our coverage is 8 minutes. And I would like to reiterate what Dennis said about Fennec. Again, we said in the analyst desk, he's really good at taking down objectives and especially towers with his not passive with his stacks in. And the thing is, it was not allowed to be used because you know that there's a Fennec, then that would mean that one of their strongest strategies would be split pushing. Mm-hmm. And you noticed Unity almost always by the end of the game did a 1-3-1. They never let a lane, they all pushed at the same time. Scud was at top, there's a 3-man rotation at mid, and the bottom part was Lindis shoving the wave. They know that they're ahead already. They know that they have both of them have sort of mobility skills anyways. So, it just does not allow any sort of split push mechanic for the composition of Alliance. Alliance, on the other hand, had a decent comp, except that they were not allowed to scale into the mid phase of the game and into the later phase of the game rather. I mean, I am a fan of the L'Oreal and the Alice combo or synergy, but it did not show at all. I feel like there's aside from a strategic limitations of what Alliance has to offer for the field, in the battlefield rather, I feel like perhaps as well as actually I have no idea where I was going, but you know what? MVP of the match is Chaitu on that Lindis.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you were going here with this is that it could be that they're... Yes, I remember now.
Okay. I mean, I am a fan of the Alice and L'Oreal, except that maybe micro-wise, they might have a difficult time actually using it. That's the reason why we haven't seen how the effectivity of this pair.
Yeah, I was actually about to say the same thing. So, good job. Now, but yeah, just to add upon that, I mean, I was actually looking to see if if they were gonna go for something else, maybe like a teamie, because like you said, it might, like, I guess comfort wise, if they were gonna go up against Unity, who was gonna be all up in your business, you kind of want someone who can counter your business. So, you know, at least have that teamie to kind of go head to head with this one, because Alice, if she actually misses that hissy fit, and then, you know, everybody else from Unity can just kind of jump over that, it's going to be very difficult to kind of, you know, push them away. And even though you have the Zenyo here, or maybe even the Wonder Woman to kind of, I guess, absorb a little bit of that pressure, a little bit of that initiation, at the end of the day, they're just trying to body block, not really kind of crowd control. That definitely kind of made it very difficult for Alliance to, you know, counter them tempo. And you were seeing it happen so many times. Crash as well as Scud, all they had to do was jump in a little bit, smack a dabadoo, and then, you know, I see you, and then he just get the kills, and then they can't really counteract that.
Yeah, Unity is just so in their comfort zone. Especially with the Crash pick, they can just mix and match whatever they want to pair it with. Like, for example, okay, let's take the Lindit's jungle instead, and it just works well, and they have these sort of mini adjustments based on the opponent's draft or the opponent's strategy. Well, like what you've seen, it's a 1-3-1 in the map, and they're so confident, and that's the difficult part. How do you shut down someone just so confident entering into this match? But again, best of 5 series, there's still a few adjustments that could be done. Just it's a learning process for sure, but at the same time, Alliance is in full here.
Yeah, they definitely are in trouble unless they do kind of something to change how they play the early game here. It's definitely going to be an easy 3-0 for Unity. That said, though, Alliance is still a team that went up against XD Gaming that gave them a run for their money. Even though it was a 3-0, all 3 games for that, XD Gaming had to fight and had to really fight hard just to get those Ws. So I'm kind of looking forward to see Alliance kind of bring back what we saw from this morning's match or this afternoon's matches, and maybe bring back the Diao-chan, because L'Oreal isn't really to be, you know, a juicy pick or a worth it pick for them. So unless they're kind of using this third placement match as a tester of if they can really use, let's say, a L'Oreal, you know, and if they're going to be effective in the competitive scene, go back to the Diao-chan. Maybe that's going to be something that they, you know, revert back. Anyways, third game draft is going to be underway, and let's see if it's going to be the L'Oreal or the Diao-chan or something else.
I want to see another Natalia pick this time around. Okay, Alliance is going to first pick Max, which I am completely, you know, I completely agree with this choice. Now, what does Unity do this time around? Ryoma and Senyo, just to max that global presence for sure. Ryoma, very good kit, absolutely devastating damage for sure in that combo, combo rotation rather. And let's see for Alliance though, because if they lock in that Joker, I'm not going to be surprised if we might see a mid lane Kreda just to just to fight for this, you know, potentially this last few moments in their tournament. But a Nacroth pick instead. We've seen Nacroth in the tournament, except that it didn't work out so well. This is probably going to be our second instance seeing a Nacroth in this tournament based on our coverage. But if Unity locks in this Lubu, at least their split push is secured, their duelist is secured, and additional an additional person to be that annoying frontline bruiser, if you will, on the Unity side. But there you go, they're going for their comfort pick, Diao-chan.
Yeah, it's back to form here for Alliance, and I'm kind of interested to see how this Nacroth pick will work, because I've seen it in, you know, the Philippine region before, and that was with a very super comfort pick here. Although, are we gonna see an
Fire and Ice hype? You see, it's Diao-chan and Ignite. So interesting. Both of these guys are so vulnerable to each other. On the side of Alliance or Unity, rather, seeing a I believe a Ryoma jungle and then Nakreth jungle side. Again, two fishy mages, but both really contribute a lot of control, a lot of damage as well. If I were to pick fire or ice, what would you pick?
Fire for me, because I'm always hot.
Well, I'm going for Diao-chan because I'm cool like that. What? Give me some credit, man. I think I'm a fan of the Alliance roster or draft because of the Joker and the Crash pick. So they took off really strong heroes in the meta right now, and combine that with something that they're comfy with, maybe they'll do a little bit better in comparison to the other games.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just gonna be, like I said, super curious about how this Diao-chan and Ignis kind of, interact with one another, or rather interact with each composition, because I believe if Ignis is that particular hero who has a lot of range with his skills, he's basically just gonna throw out his AoE damage on one area and then just run away and then kind of set up for another one. It's going to be super interesting to kind of see how that works out when that's going to be Alliance kind of, forcing themselves in with the Crash as well as that Nakrod and as well and the Max additionally. So yeah, and they also have a Lubu. I really like this one because Lubu is such a tempo oppressor in the lane or even in the jungle. So we just have to see if this will be utilized well. Anyways, we're just going to go into a third match, and it's going to be Luxuria as well as I Request a Duel. Guys, you know what to do.
Yes, and here we are in the match that rarely counts for Alliance, or at least they got to make it count here. But Unity picking up the first blood, going in aggressive as always. It's a repetition of the last two matches that we've seen, but this time with a bit more success, able to find the first two bloods actually for themselves. And meanwhile, you do see that of, I think, okay, so Lubu went down to Alliance's Might Golem, I believe, and then Max was up at their Sage Golem, so we might see a bit of a trade out here and a bit more of a skirmish as Chai2 caught out, and he's going to get the trade out kill, so that's going to be Alliance coming back and Diao-chan actually catching out Blaze on the rotation out. I think they might be able to punish that and make it even for this early game, but there is going to be the Ignis. Cypranophobia on that Ignis pick. So once again, we see Unity coming out with the, off-meta mid, and I really like it. It really brings something interesting to these third place matchups.
Okay, I'm taking bets. Fire or ice. Lay your bets now before the game ends. Fire or ice. But you gotta ask me, I don't know. I mean, for Diao-chan, it is obviously a comfort pick, right? For that of Zero. Basically, I think that's the Celsius. But that is the comfort pick for Zero. As for Ignis, I'm not too sure how it fares in the current meta. Granted, it has got its usability at ease, right? Especially when you drop your Mark of Fire on your enemies, then your skills basically gain an extra effect. Maybe a stun, maybe a slow, usually a stun. Yeah, wow. So that is interesting as well. But Abyssal Dragon, it's more interesting.
Wow, just look at that play there by Excalibur. High time Abyssal Dragon on the Roma, actually able to win out the 1v2 and pick up a kill. Not just a kill, a double kill for himself and deny that Abyssal Dragon. Although I feel like, oh no, Max All Might with the smash coming on through right into the bot lane. Does get traded out, but it was nevertheless a good execution finish. A bit sad to see Roma go in that way, but no worries, he'll be back up in just a second. So I do believe it's actually Excalibur on that Roma who started up Abyssal Dragon, got caught out and maybe hid behind it. Other than that, he could have jumped over the wall in attempts to steal it. But either way, impressive plays coming out from the side of Unity. Some good reaction there for Alliance. And yeah, for now, we do see just, I'm interested to see how this mid works, as we say, the fire versus ice matchup, hot versus cold. And right now, they're gonna just disperse, do their own things, because Abyssal Dragon's still up on the board, but not for long with Unity around. They're gonna be able to secure that one without any contestants from the side of Alliance and back off safely. So Unity, it's fairly similar start. They've got themselves ahead, and I think this is where they're comfortable.
Yep, and the fight will get started right now. Batman do actually have the Metamorphosis up, but not quite using it just yet. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there's going to be Metamorphosis as you bring that up, and Chai2 caught out on the Lubu, and we do see Zed also in the mix of things, needing to be careful, and we're going to go in deep with that crash, but no more kills going over on the board. They did pick up Excalibur as well, to mention, though, and it's opened up a bit of a window down in this bot lane, which you can now see Cypranophobia on that Ignis rotating to trying to save that tower. It's going to be putting down the heat and trying to stop them there. Going to at least be able to make them back off, and now up in the top lane. So these side lane pressures going down, but that also then opens up the mid. So a lot to keep in mind, but I feel like Unity is a team that are going to be able to recompose themselves and then get back to the usual rotations we see them on.
Yep, but one thing's for sure. I would say that I'm really liking the team comp coming out from Unity as versus Alliance. Only reason is because I don't really like Narcross. He's such a niche hero. Like if you don't ask me, Narcross over any other weird assassins out there, I'll say pick Irie anytime. I know Irie is not meta at all, but Narcross is one of those other heroes as well. It's not exactly very, very meta. Of course, you have super high mobility, but you just lack that insta burst like the other assassins do have. But here in the top lane, Zed.
Zed going for the punish onto All Might. Blaze coming up just in case anyway. We do see Bedman here waiting for that Abyssal Dragon. Alliance know they need to get something back in return. But Excalibur just going to jump over the wall, start it up, do the solo take on that. The rest of the team probably going to help assist now. But it's interesting to see Alliance. They look, they see it's up, but then they ignore it completely. They have to go to the bot lane, stop the Lubu from pushing, and this is what's really good about that Lubu Excalibur, not Excalibur, Lubu Zennial pickup, as we see Chai2 having to back off. So Chai2 not the best fighter, but definitely a great split pusher, and in that fact, we also have at least in the early game per se, you do have that Zennial in the top, who then is going to be able to control that, as well as join in the fights. We always talk about that global presence he has available. Nice stun by Blaze, but they are going to get that bot tower.
Yep, they will be getting the bot tower. So, you know, the goal difference right now, approx 2k. Not a big one for either side. And this is basically kudos to Alliance, right? Manages to actually get the first tower of the game, which is very unlike them. But obviously, I'm glad to be able to see them do that. But just look at
damage dropping down in the mid, and going to catch out Obex in the midst of it as he tries to come in and help out his teammates, but it's all a little too late, and we see the Ignis really popping off now. And meanwhile, up in the top once again, Zed catching out All Might in a 1v1 duel, and he seems to be winning this out for the most part. He's been able to really bully that lane, and already he's pushing up to that tier 2 tower, but we see it's around the 7-minute mark. This calls for a Darkslayer take according to Unity's books. So they've just been allowed to play it how they want. And I believe I think Asarai, Darkslayer not too happy, going to slap him around, picks up 1 kill for, I guess, the side of Alliance. But there is going to be, if Alliance don't step up here, which it looks like they're trying to catch out Zed, Blaze making a rotation up, but they will be able to get back to the safety of that tower. So not being able to make the best use of that Darkslayer buff. But what I was saying is, I believe earlier on, I can't remember if it's Asarai or Riku who said it, but they're talking about if Alliance continue to play like this, it's more than likely going to be a 3-0, and it was moving along that fashion, but all of a sudden, Alliance starting to group up, stick together. They might be able to make something happen, but Zero gets caught out alone Bedman stuck in the midst between Excalibur and Cypranophobia, forced to use the Metamorphosis, but it's all for naught, all in vain. He's going to get taken down for sure, unless All Might has something to say about taking down the Ignis, and Blaze all alone on that. Alice go for the solo queue. Supports need kills too. No! They don't get it. They get away, but they still poke out the All Might, helps secure that kill, and they're going to be able to back off, take the Might Golem with them, as well as some of the jungle.
I need to watch an anime where the lolly is basically a... Okay, but anyways. So...
I think it's like Ori no Shoujo. I suggest that.
Okay. Okay, maybe I'll check it out after the stream, but here in the top lane, Zed in this 1v2 up against Obex and Fires.
Yeah, we do see Zed up here in the top, and they once again doing fine for themselves. I mean, when you're versing that Zenio and you're trying to hunt him down, even if you get him caught out of position, he's usually able to escape, either be that through his just dodge ability or through the ultimate to get to the safety of his teammates. So right now, I mean, Unity saying 25.6k over to 18.9k gold, doing pretty well for themselves, and the 11-5 kills also answers that. But Alliance definitely putting up a good fight. They know this is their last chance to really make an impact here early. Yeah, that's not going to be good. Well, we do see these spicy hot plays coming on through from the Ignis, and there's going to be All Might joining in on the fight, but Zero being the focused on that Diao-chan getting taken down, and in fact double kill onto Zed, and they're gonna just keep on going through. Alice keeping her teammates alive, the safety net. Fire's gonna get jumped on under tower, and look at Cypranophobia cleaning up with the kills. So I guess if we had to say so far on that debate, it's definitely the heat mounting down the ice.
Well, definitely. I mean, it is down to, you know, whether or not Alliance can actually set up to this heat that, you know, Unity is actually bring down onto Batman, and that is 100 more gold to Cypranophobia. Ooh.
Yo, it just looks like Cypranophobia spitting fire right now and spitting
this
hot
is
bars
getting
right in that face. You can't touch me. I'm too hot for this. Can't touch us. But we will see here as they break down that high ground tower, the mid high ground tower. They're moving on to the core. What can Alliance do for this? They're gonna try to
my lord, that damage
falling down, and it's up to Fires. Batman actually gonna come back up on board. They might be able to make something happen with the Cresho. A good engagement here could turn around a 3v4 situation, but it's going to be tough. In fact, Lubu isn't even with the team at this point in time, so we'll have to see. But Lane the Death Spawners actually come back up, and most of the side of Alliance going to be in this fight. Obex another 10 seconds off, but the game might be over within that time as we see the engage coming through from Unity, but re-engaged by Bedman as he uses that Metamorphosis. Gets there very low, but he escapes with a sliver of health. I spoke too soon. The shutdown by All Might, and now we see Blaze, Excalibur, and Cypranophobia on the run, and this is an avalanche coming back at them.
Oh, try to actually going for the plays, going for the 1v3, picks up one, picks up second one, and all that's left is that Joker that's standing. I think it's all planned. It's all planned. You're like, oh, Cypranophobia, you got already 2 kills, triple kills for yourself. Let me have it too. And there you go. Try to going in for the highlight reels. He definitely got himself one, although they were relatively low, and he's a Lubu after all.
He got himself a special one. He got himself one that was play-by-play casted by Luxuria. I think that is more than a normal double kill here. And in fact, Chai2 has just been farming up all along, and I said Lubu isn't the best fighter in the early game, but when it comes to late, he can really hold up on that front line with a lot of lifesteal and just being that tank for his team. But it looks like Unity aren't done just yet. They're taking everything away from Alliance in this last game. Oh, I shouldn't speak too soon. I shouldn't speak too soon. Don't quote me on that, but we do see Cypranophobia taking down Obex, and there's going to be Zed joining in on the fight, helping out Chai2 on the front line. Meanwhile, fight going down in the back as well. They cleaned that one up there. It's left down to All Might and Bedman and Fayaz, but Bedman going to be taken out, and you can see the tankiness of this crash, but he's the last man standing, last creature for now, and there's going to be the core, and that will be 3-0 for Unity, taking the third place with style. GG, well played.
You know, for all the times that we've seen Gold lead, we've never once seen a game that actually surpassed a 10k gold lead. I mean, just
this
look.
Is 15, I believe, is 47
exactly.
to... no, not 47, 27 to 43k, if I'm correct, around there.
Just look at how Unity is playing. I mean, they have an Ignis, not exactly super meta right now. Praetor is open, but Sopranophobia just went, no, I'm gonna play, you know, fire with eyes, and let's see who comes out on top. 0 degrees really getting heated up there all the way to 100. But here we see a quick replay. They just basically scaled through the entire jungle, took everything. Blaze went home. They don't even need the observer in the game anymore. They just look at the amount of damage just coming out of Sopranophobia. And here we see dominating, and you will see a legendary afterwards. Zenio comes in to join in for the fight. 0 gets taken down at a back line as well. Something goes down as well. And it's just down to crash that wimpy kid before the metamorphosis. And there you go, Batman. I don't know. Like, this is just impossible. Joker comes out afterwards, but there was no use whatsoever.
Yep, and we'll have to hand it back to Asarai, and must be sweaty after that match.
You shall not pass! Yes, that is what just happened there on that game. You saw the Ignis used to full effect. Nobody can actually get through his barrage of meaty, heaty fireballs, so to speak. But yeah, exactly. It was such a heated game wherein ice was totally melted, even evaporated when it turned into water. But yeah.
I'm speechless. Just the same reaction I have from Unity's game from game number 3. That was just, wow. Super, it's like, stop central. They were in control from early to finish. They just cleaned everything from all the high ground towers. They've gotten all the objectives. It's like you're just, it's like Unity is so hungry. When you're so hungry, just finish off everything from the plate. Nothing left.
Exactly. And when you have an Ignis, you're sure that your meal is never cold. Exactly.
We're not stopping.
Exactly. No, but legit. Getting back into the game. Kidding aside, it definitely was a very messy kind of fight there for Alliance here. Like that Nakaroth as well as Crash definitely had some good moments for themselves, but because they have to dive in, because again we were kind of talking about how the Ignis is just really good at leaving his AoE, his balls of AoE, and then stunning people when they last or at least stand too long in that vicinity. It kind of just stops the tempo that Alliance wants to kind of get going when they go for those fights, and then they can immediately reset. All Ignis has to do is once they jump in, drop it where they drop, and then kind of rinse and repeat, and that's what happened. Alliance couldn't really find an answer to that, and the Diao Chen, I think, is pretty much oppressed by this Ignis. Like, if she tries to use her ultimate, she has to stay idle, right, in one angle or in one spot, and then Ignis can just again drop her, stun her down, and melt that frozen lady.
Yes, imagine the possibilities, as well as I did mention numerous times how L'Oreal very, very deadly combo. Hey, here comes Ignis and Alice, which is practically the same, almost the same size of AoE as well. Both circles, and if you just wombo combo that is just a huge trap for Alliance's side. But Unity just played it so well. I think Alliance, they had a couple of questionable calls, like for example the very first Abyssal Dragon, the Joker fell, I believe, actually. And as well, Unity already won that skirmish, and yet the Max still dove in just for the kill. Normally you go for kills because it leads to objectives, but that kill, Max fell as well, you left top, so it's kind of like, these itsy bits of minor mistakes could, if they pile up, it's just something Unity is gonna easily take advantage of and just put it in the bank.
Yeah, and speaking of take advantage of, they definitely did that, and it kind of just, again, spiraled way out of control. Again, I think Luxur was the one who said this, wherein he said that Nakaroth is a very niche hero, wherein he could have wanted Irie to have been the other champion that could have replaced the Nakaroth. And in a certain sense, I also agree with that, because Irie is one of those champions that, even though she is a sort of assassin, and she has lesser mobility than Nakaroth, and I believe it was you who said that Nakaroth has like 7 dashes.
Just a lot of dashes. I suck at math. I might be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of dashes indeed. Irie has at least a moderate amount of dashes, plus her ultimate Ryu allows her to kind of the more the opponents get hit by her ultimate, or at least the more opponents she hits with her ultimate, the more shield she gets, meaning that she can stay a little bit longer in the fight and be a bit more useful. The Nakaroth there was kind of blown up every single time that he tries to kind of, just dive in onto the fight. Anyways, here's your MVP for that game. It is Blaze 4-0-15. That is a huge kill participation, as well as no deaths for the ILS.
Yes, so adorable as well. Just as you said, no deaths. Again, really synergizes well with a lot of the squad, as well as that Ignis pick. And Ryoma as well, and Lubu. Lubu, very good split pusher. You saw once the Lubu just had that space, and everybody else from the side of Alliance were just trying to run away from that Lubu during the last few instances of the fight.
Yeah.
But I'm just really happy to see this. As congratulations to Unity for landing that 3rd place spot. They did so well against Alliance, and 3-0. Wow. Wow.
Wow. Yeah, so now that is all over, we're going to be seeing, or at least we're now going to be getting into the meat of it all, the creme de la creme, the Mount Everest of this climb, or the peak of Mount Everest of this climb that all of these teams have been scaling up for, which is the grand finals. The majority of that 5 lakh rupees will definitely go into the winner's hands, and that is going to be XD Gaming versus Serenity. Both of these teams definitely showed a lot of control against their opponents, and even I believe 3 zeros all across the board. So we're looking for a pretty intense match, or at least intense next match to watch.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to the draft later on as well. A lot of popular picks, especially the Joker Preda, which is super duper common in certain compositions, as well as the typical Max versus Senior, just to put that global presence in, and as well as that lockdown from that Max. And Senior for protection, both have similar, not similar concepts, but more like people use them for similar reasons, but they offer a totally different strat into their arsenal. Next up, again, I'm so excited to see more junglers, more surprise picks. Like, for example, we didn't really expect any Ignis in this tournament, and yet he appeared, he won, he has conquered, burned everybody. That sounds super